Hey guys, it's Nikas. Hey, so I just wanted to make a little video about where I'm at and what I'm experiencing in this world. Um, Having some sort of a fatal disease is something that you don't really encounter in many people in your day-to-day life. And so what I've been having a hard time doing is talking to people without their biases or their judgments or their wishes, even well wishes, coming into the narrative of their talking points. So it's kind of like I'm saying this, and they're thinking something else. They're thinking about their experiences through the lens of their own mind, and they're trying to come back with an answer that somehow either is trying to fix things or make things better or sort of change the situation instead of just listening. One of the things I learned in hospice, one of the things they trained us as hospice volunteers is you're not there to save anyone. You're not there to make things better. You are simply there to witness. You are simply there to be a compassionate, hand-holding person in the room, to witness someone dying, just to be with them. But I'm not at that point yet. I'm still at a point where I'm sort of dealing with new things in my life, and what I'm finding is it's difficult to find people to have these sort of deep discussions with who don't have an agenda of their own. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean their agenda might be they want me to live. And so they'll say things like, oh, you have to change your attitude. And it's kind of like, well, you might have to change your attitude, but I'm trying to tell you where I'm at. And what I'm finding is I'm having a really hard time finding anyone who can really just simply be a clear mirror. Most people are trying to fix things. And, if I need something fixed, trust me, I'll ask for help. Hey, I need help with this. Would you be open to that? Is it possible that you could do this? Hey, I need a ride here. I'm very able to open my mouth and ask. But what sometimes I'm unable to do is, just like every human being in the world, I have a mind and it comes up with thoughts. And sometimes its thoughts just take you down the rabbit hole of the magical, mythical world of what's not happening. It's kind of like there's what is, and then there's what isn't, right? So worry, shame, future effing, all happens in your mind. It doesn't happen in reality, because reality is, I'm having a lovely day making a video with you. And so it's kind of like, what I found in my years of being a sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous and being also a bit of a spiritual teacher is that, the best thing I can do is simply to ask questions. I don't have any great wisdom. I can't lay down any incredible dialogue that will, change somebody's perspective of, but what I can do is I can sort of get a sense of where they're coming from through asking questions and relate my own experience. If my own experience happens to resonate, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's what that is. But what I've made sure not to do is to sort of assess where they're at. Oh, I know where you're. Yeah, I know. Here, let me. Or they'll offer words of either advice or, oh, I'm so worried about you. And it's like, that's not what I've come to you for. I've just recently had a few things go sideways in my life, which took me down a few paths that I didn't expect to happen, but they did. But that's just an event that happened in my life. I got in a car accident a few years ago. I ate breakfast this morning. These are events that happen in your life that you're not, that the now has nothing to do with. So to bring up those events and try to bring them into the now to sort of shape someone else's narrative of where you're at isn't really helpful. So I wanted to read a little something out of one of my favorite books is this book called To Be Human by this guy named J. Krishnamurti. It's one of the very first books that ever really floated my boat, and I was actually in a meditation. I'll tell you the story. I was in a meditation, and I had somebody whisper in my ear, "You need to go to Borders and buy a book." And when I turned around to see who that person was, there was no one there. And I was like, "Wait, what was that?" So it was kind of like I got this sort of like little divine message that you need to go to Borders and buy a book. So I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, golly, I took a bus. This is in San Francisco. I took a bus to get here. How will I?" And the little voice said, "You'll ask someone for a ride to Borders." I said, "Oh, okay." So I asked a pal of mine, "Hey, can you just drop me down at Borders?" And yeah, sure. So I get into Borders and I walk in. I'm like, "Okay, Mr. Voice, or Mrs. Voice, or Mr. and Mrs. Voice, as the case may be. What am I looking for? What's this is a big bookstore. I don't know what I'm looking for." And intuitively, I was guided to go to the spirituality section, and I still had no idea. And I says, "Okay, all right, universe, God, divine, whatever the heck you are, I need you to make this as big as a billboard." Because I don't know what I'm looking for, but apparently you do, and apparently you've guided me to come buy a book. So if you'll be so kind as to make it absolutely obvious, I will buy it. And so, so I'm kind of going through the little things, and it was like the Tao of Pooh, Zen 1, 2, 3, the 5 directions for becoming enlightened in 2 days or less. And it's just all this like really stuff that you're like, oh God, that's so not it. But then I ran across this one called To Be Human. And I read the back, which I won't read to you now, and something about it just sort of touched me in that place where I was like, aha, this is it. So anyway, so knowing that this was a book for me, I took it home and I read it cover to cover, and it really impacted my life. It impacted my spiritual growth. It impacted my ability to be human. Imagine that. So there's 2 pages that's dedicated to the art of listening, and if you've seen any of my past videos, I've talked about actively listening, which actively listening means that you're paying your full attention to what's happening and not busy in your head thinking about what you're going to respond with, or thinking about how you can be helpful. And you're actively listening means that this turns off and you just become simply a listening device that has no agenda, that is willing to speak up if something's intuitively guided for me to speak up, but generally that speaking up has to do with the question. So I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs here that kind of sum up my personal situation right now. This is paragraph 1. It says, can you listen without conclusion? All right, so can you listen without figuring it out, or trying to figure it out, or seemingly having figured it out? Can you listen without conclusion, without any comparison, without any judgment? Just listen as you would listen to music, to something you really feel that you love. Then you listen not only with your mind, your intellect, but you also listen with your heart, right? You're open-hearted, just listening to something that, you just, this is gorgeousness. You listen without care, without objectivity, not a me and them or a you and me. You're just listening. You're not listening with objectivity. Sanely, you listen with the attention to find out. So you're not listening with an agenda, with a bias, but you're simply listening to find out what's being said. And there's something about that requires this to sort of just be quiet for a bit, which is something a lot of people have trouble with. I will say this is something I've noticed in my life, is many people have a hard time quieting that down and just simply listening. Okay, here's the second paragraph. And these are just different snippets from different teachings that this teacher, Krishnamurti, has taught. And the second one says, I think there's an art of listening, which is to listen completely without any motive. Because a motive in listening is a distraction. If you can listen with complete attention, then there is no resistance, either to your own thoughts or to what is being said. Which does not mean that you will be mesmerized by words, but it is only the very silent, quiet mind that finds out what is true. Not a mind which is furiously active, thinking and resisting, or figuring out, concluding. So, if you like that, I sincerely, highly suggest To Be Human by J. Krishnamurti. So, what I found is that it's incredibly difficult to get people just to simply listen. Everyone goes through things, myself included. And sometimes it's kind of nice to talk, but it's also not necessarily my favorite thing to sit with somebody who's trying to conclude what it is, figure out what it is that I'm saying, and figure a remedy of how they can fix it, right? Because then they don't hear what I'm saying. They don't hear where I'm coming from. They don't hear, when I listen to people, they'll be telling me a story, and I'll say, aha, oh, okay, all right. And if I interject, it would simply be, well, how did that make you feel? What was that like? Where did you take that? It's simply, I ask questions to find out where a person is going, where this thought process, this thinking process, which isn't real, by the way, right? This is the idea between active listening is I find myself here to be listening to another person, to simply be a clear mirror. And when I say a clear mirror, I mean that in a sense that I'm just simply reflecting back that which is, not the mirror's all muddy and dirty and all covered up with all my thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, and trying to interject those back to a person, right? I think that's a really dirty mirror, okay? And so what I don't do is I don't seek out dirty mirrors to have conversations with, because I understand that whatever's being said is being said through the lens of one's own personal experience. And, if I'm speaking, if I'm saying something, if I'm actually sharing what's going on for me, it has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so it's kind of like my wish would be that I can find other clear mirrors in this life that can actually listen and ask questions. One of the things I've really learned in this life is that my job is to simply help a person uncover what's currently going on for them, right? I'm a human being with my own set of experiences, with my own life, and my life fixes, my DIYs are certainly not yours. So the idea that I would throw my DIYs on your experience is kind of ridiculous, right? Oh, this is what you need to do. You should do this. This is your answer. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. You got to change your attitude. You can't be so negative. Oh, I'm sorry. Speaking about the fact that I'm dying, not today, I don't know when, but I actually have the beauty of knowing that, oh, this is a limited time only offer. And this particular guy knows that he's going to probably, most probably, die before the happily ever after story happens. And I mean, that's a silly judgment, but because this is also a happily ever after story. But it's kind of nice actually to know that you've got time to sort of sort things out, get things ready. You know, I recently just sent somebody some pictures. Apple Memories really came up with a great bunch of pictures of me in 2019, and they sent me this, memories for you, and it was memories of it was all photographs of me in 2019. And it was such a cute little roll of film that I just felt like expressed. It just showed so many aspects of me, and I thought, you know what? I sent it to a friend, and I said, "Hey, if something happens to happen, do me a favor and throw this up on Facebook." Actually, it was for a group of guys that I hang out with on Tuesday night. I said, just a little moment of silence and maybe play this video. It's kind of like you're able to sort of like, I don't want to say plan, but you're able to know something's coming, and just take a little time. Thoughtfulness, you can put thoughtfulness into it. It's kind of like, if I know I'm about to get into a car accident, maybe I'll slow down a bit. Maybe I'll put my seatbelt on. Maybe I'll double check the airbags are working. Which simply just means looking at the little thing that says your airbag is, the passenger seat is off, or, I don't know. You get where I'm going here. You get time to sort of, oh, wow, this is going to happen. What would I like to see of my life afterwards? How would I like to shape the narrative? So it's kind of really nice. So yeah, so my whole idea here today was to sort of bring up the idea of what it means like to really listen as a friend. Somebody said to me yesterday, "I'm so worried." And I thought, you know what? That's so not helpful. I'm so worried for you. I don't even get it. No, that's your drama. That's your thoughts. That's the narrative that's happening in your head. And it really made me see that this person is not somebody that I can speak to, that's really willing to listen, that's willing to play that role as a clear mirror, which, I don't, this is not where this person's at. This is not what they're able to do. So that's what I'm looking for in my life. And now that I know, I can pray and I can ask God to help put those people in my life, because I'm at a point in life where things are beginning to happen. It's kind of a cruel irony. I just got a haircut, so I feel like I'm like, oh, look, this outside body thing is really looking pretty good. But the reality is, although it might look good on the outside, what's happening on the inside is not so good. So, I'm taking some photo documentation, and I'll make sure not to keep it just these cute photos, but also photo documentation of when it doesn't feel cute. when it's difficult, because that's really honesty. That's really, allowing people in. That's showing people where you really are. And it takes a lot of courage to open yourself to people through talking, and let them in. And it's discouraging when they don't listen. They just have their own agenda, their own biases, their own thoughts and opinions and of what you need to do. So, that's my little chat today on listening and being a clear mirror for those who are going through things that you're not going through, and how one can actually be helpful and useful without actually doing any sort of fixing. When I worked in hospice, I was not there. These people are actively dying. There's nothing I can say that's going to change that. So why would I even think that I could? We're all actively dying. Maybe not today, but be sure that death is coming to knock on your door too. Maybe not now, maybe not next week, next year, but it's coming. So the idea of preparing and thinking about it is, in my opinion, a great luxury. So thanks for listening to this little diatribe on listening. Have a blessed day.